Hi artist, Miss Flashier here. This week you're gonna need, you should have 3 different colors of blue tissue paper in your art kit. You should have 2 different greens, but we're only gonna use a little bit of that because we need this mostly for next week. And that you can see I ripped it into little pieces. So you can do that. And what else? We need our glue cup, our sponge, and a piece of cardstock cut in half. So you only need half of it, okay? And the cardstock is heavy, but not the watercolor paper, so it doesn't have a texture that you can feel on it. Okay, so this is pretty much what we're gonna do today. In the slideshow is the picture of the bridge at Monet's garden. And so we are recreating this with tissue paper and some other stuff that I will talk about next week. But we're gonna take this slow because I need these for the art show. So I need you to take your time. It's not gonna be a lot of work this week or next week, but sometimes slower is better. Okay, so the first thing that you do after you rip up all your little pieces of tissue, you're gonna take your sponge and you just take that little corner again, you dip it in your glue, okay? And you start to dot the glue onto your paper, and you're gonna cover from like halfway down like I did on this one. So halfway down. Don't cover the whole thing with glue. We're only doing the water this week. Okay, so this is gonna, oop, there goes all my tissue. We're just gonna do the water this week, and then next week we'll work on the background and more lilies and the bridge. Okay, so, and you see I have like a pretty good amount of glue. So that all you have to do is drop the tissue onto it. You're gonna get glue on your fingers, I'm warning you now, but the good thing about this glue is it washes right off. So, and I would wait till the end to wash your hands off. I know lots of people who were in school with me don't like to get glue on their hands. Sometimes you can't avoid getting your hands dirty when you're making art. So I'm mixing them up, and what's gonna happen with the tissue, and if you look at this, when the tissue gets wet, it bleeds. So all this little stuff that comes around the piece of tissue, is it bleeding? The dye in the tissue paper is bleeding. And so that's what we're looking for, because we're looking to have these pieces that you can see, because remember the way Monet paints is he paints in like color blocks. He doesn't paint cleanly, he doesn't paint with straight lines, and I'm mixing them all up. Oops. And the light blue does not bleed as much as the dark. The dark blue is the best for the bleeding. And if you look at the painting that is in your slideshow, there is some green in the water. We are using Monet's painting as inspiration, but we're not making it exactly the same as his. And this will be our third and last project based on Claude Monet. So maybe next year you guys can remember his name, because we've done so much with it. Okay, I'm gonna keep putting tissue down until I have it covered. And that's why this is better than using a glue stick, because you can kind of, because it's wet, you can kind of just drop it on. Okay, so now it's all covered. It's stuck to my paper too. And okay, so second step after you cover the whole thing, and there's still lots of white, so it kind of looks like a mosaic. And then you're gonna take a little bit more glue and you're just gonna stick some of the ones down. I'm going really light because I don't want it to stick to my sponge. And you can see this one's already starting to bleed just from the glue. Okay, so, and after we add a little bit more glue to the top to make sure they're stuck on, we're gonna do a little bit of water on the top. And I know that probably sounds weird, but the water is what makes it bleed. So this is why we have to wait, you know, a week in between, because this is gonna take a while to dry. And so we won't be able to finish it in class. Okay, and now that I'm looking, I could use some more stuff on the edge. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse out my sponge and get my water. Now the water. If you have a spray bottle at home, it works the best. And that's what I used on this one at school. But all my spray bottles here are full of stuff that I can't rinse it out. So I'm dipping my fingers in the water just a little bit and I'm trying to like spritz it. You don't want it to get soaking wet. You can also use your sponge a little bit and get it wet too. But don't like squirt like a big thing like that on it, because that's not what that's too much water and your paper will get all goofy. So the cool thing about the spray bottle is when you get the water on it, you can hold it up and it runs a little bit, so you can run your blues and stuff different ways. See, there it goes on that one. Okay, and this is pretty much it for now. If you see that you have lots of dead space or white spots or stuff where the tissue didn't bleed or blend together, you can go back in and add some. Now, be careful not to get your tissue wet, because mine just got wet and this is what happens. And this one will start to bleed and mess up the other colors. Okay, so this is pretty much it for this week. And we will continue next week with lots of green. So green and yellow for next week, tissue paper. Save this because we're gonna use it again. Okay, have a great week. I will see you soon.